This is one for the parents. So, just wanted to spend a couple of minutes explaining to you about the stages children go through when they're learning to write. It's quite easy for parents to think the best thing to do is to write words down and to get your children to copy them so they're doing them perfectly. That's not the best way to teach your child to write. The best way is to do everything you can to encourage your child to become a really confident writer. Doesn't matter if they're getting it right, doesn't matter if they're hearing the sounds yet. We want to encourage them to be mark-making, copying things that you're doing, as in writing a shopping list, but doing it in their own way. So I'll just spend a couple of minutes talking you through the different stages of mark-making that the children go through. It's not everything, but it's what we generally tend to see. And the really important thing to remember is it really doesn't matter where your child is at the moment. Just because your child's in reception, there may be a child in nursery who's at a later developed stage of mark making, and that's absolutely fine. Children develop at completely different rates. Doesn't mean that another child can do it and your child can't and they're going to be behind forever. It doesn't work like that at all. So just embrace whichever stage you feel your child is at. Encourage them the best way you can. They will be absolutely fine. Okay? So I'm going to start off by showing you what you see right at the beginning when your child first picks up a pen or a pencil and they're beginning to make marks. So you've got random squiggles, dots, random marks on a piece of paper. Your child is most likely to be picking up a pen and holding it in a fist. I would say discourage this if you can. Encourage them to hold it with a pincer grip between their fingers. If they're holding it like this, again, that's okay, not so bad, particularly when they're younger. But just encourage them to be holding that pincer grip. If they do it for a second and then revert back to fist, don't nag and nag and nag at them so that you put them off. Leave it a minute, encourage them to have another go, and then very quickly they'll begin to pick up and hold their pens or pencils in the right way. So this is the first stage of mark making you'll see. Please don't feel it always has to be done on a piece of paper, a tray with some salt in, getting them to use their finger, with a paintbrush outside on the patio, making big marks. Whatever your children want to do, that's absolutely fine. Shaving foam, they love shaving foam in a tray, anything you've got around the house at all. Quite often, and particularly the boys, don't want to pick up a pen. So any way that they want to do mark making, just encourage it. So that'll be your first stage. Then you'll see children will often pick up that marks are made from left to right, particularly if you're reading to them a lot. They'll notice the way you're reading the text on a page, and they might start to do squiggles or marks in a format like this. So if they're moving left to right and then doing another line and another line, sometimes it might be squiggles, sometimes they might carry on doing little scribbly bits. Again, brilliant, another step in their mark making process. Okay, often then children will move on to doing little shapes like this. So although they're not letters, in the children's heads they're representations of the letters that they're seeing you reading in books to them and they're seeing you writing. So again, these different shapes and squiggles, encourage it. Ask the children what they've written down, praise them for it. Don't be tempted to say, oh no, this is how we write our letters, this is how we do our writing. Encourage them to be confident in what they're doing. After that stage, and as children begin to learn to write their names, you might notice that they're using some of their familiar letters that they're used to writing in their names in their pretend writing. So if you ask them to write a letter to somebody, they might be including some of their letters from their names, maybe other letters they've seen around, and again, still some of the random shapes. You'll start to see this happening. When you're teaching the children to write their names, and I will go over this in another little video, but again, I would encourage them with that to do one or two letters at a time. If they can't do any letters of their name yet, just start with their first one. Focus on that and encourage them to get really good at doing that first letter of their name. Moving on to the next one after that. Okay, then as children begin to hear the sounds in words and are more familiar with what words are and that each word has a different meaning and has a different sound, you might see children starting to use this in their writing. So this says, the cat sat on the mat. Now the to children would often sound like a v sound. So to begin with, just encourage them to write down whatever they think they can hear, whether it's right or wrong. Just say, yeah, that's brilliant, and encourage them to write it down. So here we've got some other random letters. They might have heard the k at the beginning of cat. So the cat sat, again, random letters, on the mat. There'll be no spaces. They may not always be in the right order, but if they're starting to hear those sounds and they're keen to write them down, then work on that with your children as well. If they say, I want to write cat, say, oh, I wonder what cat begins with. And if they hear k, 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 and then need a little help remembering what it looks like, show them the letter, allow them to write that down, but again, encourage that free writing as much as you can. Okay, and then eventually they'll move on to this stage where they're a bit more aware of spaces between words, that words are separate entities. Here we've got the cat again. No idea about the word the yet. It's one of those very tricky words that isn't as it sounds, and that's fine. The cat. Now this child here is able to hear all of the sounds within the word at this point. Your child may be able to hear the first and the final sound for a while, or think they can hear other sounds there, that's fine. Encourage them to write down whatever they think they can hear. The cat sat on the mat. Okay, so this is probably the final stage that we'll expect the children to be at when they're with us in reception. Some of our reception children are moving towards this stage now. If your child is here, I'm sure they've talked to you about using Fred fingers. So you can ask them to hold up 3 Fred fingers and to pinch the word. So if the word is cat, you'd say, okay, let's pinch the word cat together. Get them to say the word cat. We're going to pinch cat, k-at, cat. Okay? So whichever stage your child is at, please encourage it. Don't feel you need to push them along. Just go with wherever they are and they'll all develop at their own rate and they'll be absolutely fine. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.